Hello, this is Janet Gallen welcoming you to Love Letters Live. Today's guest is Jim Meskimen. You may know him for a variety of, I'm sure you do. This man is so busy. Jim, there's so much that you do that we're going to just have to let you kind of go through it for us. But may I say that I met you as the son of America's Mom on Happy Days.
That's right. Marion Ross is my organic biological mom.
Yes. So, I'd like to ask a question about that, if I may.
Sure.
I don't want to pry, but may I ask how old you were during that Happy Days run? Because that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm about 5 years younger than Ron Howard. So
I don't know. I'm not very good at age. So
no, you're not very good at aging either. You look very young. I was in my, it ran for 11 seasons. So it was a spread of, I think it started when I was about 12.
So you were young.
I was young. I was at a perfect age to really appreciate it because all those boys were a little older than I was and playing playing my age, but they were a little bit older. And it was a really super fun time.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I'm glad to hear that. So I was thinking, there's got to be some sibling rivalry as the son of America's Mom when she's got all these other people, but you liked it.
I did. I mean, it was very special and very surprising. That was at a time when, 10 or 15 million people would tune in to watch one show on Tuesday night.
I know.
And it slowly built in popularity. It was allowed to kind of grow and develop, unlike shows today. And it was a big change for us just financially.
Nice.
My mom was a working actress, but a single mom.
Uh-huh.
My parents were divorced, and she was raising two kids, and as an actress, not doing anything else. And that was a real big challenge that she met. So we didn't have a lot of extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, we ate a lot of frozen fish sticks and cans of string beans for dinner. She also wasn't much of a cook. So when the Happy Days finally came around and we could have like a blow dryer in the house, that was a big deal.
You mean this kind?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, so life changed. I mean, you moved to some place that was better for you.
Didn't move. Stayed just,
so you were settled in one home.
Yeah. In the home that I'm in right now, actually.
How nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very happy. I'm happy to hear all that. I'm happy to hear that it was a good time for you because, life can be tricky.
Yeah. Which is not to say that I wasn't intensely jealous of the people that had roles in the show. Although I hadn't really made a commitment to being an actor at that point, there was still, the amount of attention that
that's what I was wondering. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely that way I felt. This kind of weird. Actually, it was something I had to kind of figure out. It took me a long time to figure out. Like, I was attracted to the life of an actor, but I wasn't sure if it was just because of the attention, or the money. It's like, well, is that something to base your life on? What's the honorable thing about being an actor? And I had to sort that out for myself and really discover what makes it.
I have ideas about the honorable thing about acting.
Yeah. What have you come up with?
Well, we need our storytellers. Society needs our storytellers.
Totally. Okay. I agree 100%. It has a function that is very important. Also, for me, I came to realize that when I, to use the word of today, when I consumed, entertainment in my life as a child, I would get very excited and thrilled by certain performances that would be life-changing. It would be just like inspiring and amazing. And I thought, well, if I can impart that, then that's obviously a good thing.
What were the performances or performers that struck you so deeply?
Wow, when you ask that question, the first person that comes to mind is the great Danny Kaye.
Oh, yes.
Who was a singing, dancing genius, super performer.
Really?
And and people like Peter Sellers, another super performer who could embody many, many characters. And these were all people that I went, wow, I guess to be an actor that would give me that sort of feeling, I would have to do a variety of things very well.
And what would that be?
Well, like voices and accents and the physical things and just great ideas and inspiring kind of performances.
So what was your journey to get where you are now, which I want to talk about because it's so full?
Well, my journey has been first, like that was a major kind of thing I had to figure out, was like, what's the point of being an actor? Is it just to be showy and to get attention and to, be a celebrity and all that sort of thing? Or is it something deeper? And I kind of figured that out. I sussed that out and went, okay, good. Well, if I have then a purpose that's like a legitimate, honest purpose.
This marks you as a very nice person that you could do that. How old were you when you went through this particular realization?
Well, all the way from, it took me a while to sort it out. So it took a few years to sort it out. And I was in my,
when did it first strike you that you
20s. When I was about 23, it finally settled. And I'm like, okay, I get it now. I get it.
What did you think your life was going to be before you decided that you could act?
I thought it would have more to do with the visual arts. I was a trained painter and illustrator.
I read that about you.
Yeah, it's true. And I studied art in Spain, and I worked as an illustrator in New York, and a cartoonist. And I trained myself as a kid to draw. I always drew cartoons. I read Mad Magazine, and I admired the drawings of Al Hirschfeld, if you know who that is. And there were, for me to be alone and create a world on my own was very satisfying. So I thought my career would have something to do with that. Uh-huh. And but I had this interesting urge to perform, to be in front of people, to say wonderful words and embody beautiful characters, like I saw Danny Kaye do, like I saw Peter Sellers do, or other performers that I admired.
What was your first acting job?
Well, my first professional acting job was, I did plays and stuff, and I was actually paid to be in a play early on in college. Mm-hmm. I scored a role in a sponsored one-act play that actually paid money. So that would probably be the first one that I did. But in Hollywood, and I have to thank my mom again, Marion Ross. She helped me get on Happy Days on an episode, the famous Jump the Shark episode. So I was 17.
I like most of America. What was it, Tuesday nights?
Yeah, Tuesdays at 8 on ABC.
Can you believe that I remember that? And nobody went out on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, right.
Nobody I knew would go out on Tuesday nights. You were home and you were watching all of those fabulous teenage boys. Yes.
Yeah.
And the father was I don't know why I'm going down this memory lane. It's your turn, but he had a hardware store.
That's right.
And most fathers in situation comedies, you didn't know what they did for a living.
That's right. It wasn't very important. Although we didn't go to Howard's hardware store very often. I don't think we saw it very much. I can't remember. Like, it wasn't like a set piece like on Cheers or something where you always see that bar. Sure. It was like, we know he goes to work, but
we know he goes to work. That's right. Some of the others you did. Anyway, so you got paid for that. And, do you still do cartooning?
Yes, I do it. I do it because I love it. And I have a little, I found to be a working actor, one has to constantly figure out new ways to promote oneself and keep one's name in front of other people and face and so forth. So when I lived in New York in the 80s, I came upon this idea of having and I think I beat the New Yorker to this, a cartoon contest, a Caption This Cartoon contest.
Yes.
So I draw a cartoon. It has no caption. It has some interesting elements in it. And I invite my mailing list to send in their captions. And I've been running it since about 1986.
You still are?
Yeah. Now it's online. Now it's on,
Tell us where we can find it.
Well, you can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
You type in my name, Jim Meskimen. I have a channel, and every month I do this cartoon contest online. Okay. It's also on Instagram. And if you're on my mailing list, you get it in the mail too.
So if you subscribe, if you go to the YouTube, they always give you a chance to subscribe. So if you do that.
Yeah, or you go to jimmeskimen.com and then I'll send you.
Okay, that's good to know. Mail. Right. Because, a good cartoonist, I've noticed, they're really, each one is some kind of a really important history lesson.
How so?
Well, okay, Spears, what's his, David Spears? Or Spires, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Every one of his cartoons is an absolute history lesson in some way or other.
It captures the contemporary zeitgeist visually. Yeah,
really
yeah.
does.
Yeah, it's true. And when you read a big book of New Yorker cartoons going back over the decades, you see the different styles, and the cartoons of the 50s are so different from those of the 70s. And yeah, I totally agree.
How are they different in the 50s?
Well, the look of them is different.
I mean, were they
The sense of
simpler?
humor is different. Like you say,
You
it's a
bet.
history lesson. You know,
By the way,
there's a lot of martinis in
yes.
those cartoons.
By the way, and that's true in the movies also. You see these movies in the 40s and the 50s,
Uh-huh.
and
A lot of smoking.
Well, like the Thin Man, and they'll be sitting at a table with like 4 martinis each, and that was somehow considered a social norm instead of a disease.
Uh-huh. That's right. It's probably like vaping and marijuana smoking today. We'll look back at it and go, "What the hell were we thinking?"
Oh well, yeah, we do that a lot. So looking back to simpler, yes, and humor was different in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Will you talk about that for a minute? Because I look at old things, and I can't believe what people considered funny.
Well, it's interesting, and I do have an idea about that, and I'll see what you think about this. But of course, in the 50s, the nation was coming out of a ghastly long war, right, including atomic bombing of another country. And I think people's appetite for the grisly, the depressing, and the horrific was probably pretty low. In recent years, I think people feel a little bit maybe more separated from the violence of everyday life, even though they can find it if they want to. And maybe there's a kind of a laxity or complacency. And it seems like in general, either the appetite for horror or depressing subjects is either very high, or the people that produce it are just very interested in people being confronted with the horrific images all the time. Yeah. Maybe that combination of because obviously people are consuming stories that are extremely serious or what we used to call perverse.
Oh, that's another thing that's changed a lot. Our tolerance for what's perverse. I mean, there was that whole Charles Addams era.
Yeah, which was charming and funny, and at the time very kind of like risque and like, oh my gosh, imagine if this horrible thing could happen, and that continues to be. But that's got a very lighthearted, of course, attitude, and his work. I saw Charles Addams' physical cartoon, like one of the originals, and it shocked me how large it was.
Really?
Physically, it's very big, and I thought, of course it was. As an illustrator, I know that it's very common for the original picture to be big, and then they shrink it photographically down, and then it has all this richness, and it really just sharp, and it really pops. Anyway, that's just kind of an aside.
What are you attracted to? I mean, I noticed earlier, just when you were talking about something, it seems that the kind of things you are attracted to, the performers, have a definite echo of sense of humor, echo of funny.
Yeah. I like that. I like laughter is a great release, so we all recognize that, and that's so I wind up being I've done an awful lot of comedy, mostly that's comedy. What I wanted to know in my career. Done a lot of comedy commercials. I got started in commercials, and I did animation. And
what was your first commercial, and then what were the comedies that you were in? I'd like to know, like, tell people what your actual movies and.
Well, I mean, all these commercials are long gone, but I had a thriving career for many years as a improvised commercial spokesman.
What does that mean?
I would go in, well, no script. In other words, I would interview people in stores. There was a chain in Texas called Skaggs Alpha Beta. There was another one in Florida that's called Food Lion, Cash and Carry. And there was one in St. Louis called the Schnucks Markets. And all these and a couple of other ones that I just can't remember, I would be hired to go in and interview shoppers.
And that was
just with kind of friendly, witty repartee about the store, about the things they found, the items. And grocery stores are very fruitful, literally, but they're fruitful for ideas and funny things that people buy and funny experiences that people have had. And I did just hours and hours, maybe hundreds of hours of interviews with people. And we would find these, in the editors would find these little gems, these little funny moments, and cut them together into commercials. And that gave people, a nice attitude about the store. So
By the way, I've noticed that I do this, and I think other people do it, although I haven't asked. When I'm in the checkout line at a supermarket, I'm looking at what other people are getting.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody do that? I guess maybe.
Everybody does it. I know. I don't know.
Well,
I certainly do. I certainly do.
I think
Yeah, you're really pretty naked at the checkout counter.
I think
if you
so.
come up there with all your vodka and your donuts, I think people
That's
make a
right. Or
judgment
your
on
frozen
that.
stuff, or the people that buy, really a lot of fruits and vegetables, and that they're really cooking. You tend to be a little judgmental if you're not careful.
It's true. Well, that's why they give us that plastic bar to put in between so that we don't mix with the hoi polloi. So I did, you asked about other projects I've done.
Yes.
On television, probably your audience would know me from Parks and Recreation, the Amy Poehler show that was so charming and funny. And I did about an episode per season of that show. I wish I'd done more, but it took me a long time to realize what a funny show it was. I would have pressed to get into more, but that was always a really fun experience. And they let me improvise a little bit and create on that character. I've been in some pretty big movies. I met Ron Howard, of course, when I was a young man through my mom, and I've been in 5 of his films.
Oh, tell us what those are. So if we haven't seen them, we can go look for you.
Well, it's very likely you've seen a lot of these films. The Grinch with Jim Carrey, Apollo 13, Tom Hanks.
Oh, sure.
And then the last film I did with him was Frost Nixon with Frank Langella and Mark.
I did like him.
And also a movie called Ed TV with Matthew McConaughey. And what's the other one?
So you're very busy. And
The Paper. The first one I did was called The Paper with Michael Keaton and
I remember that.
And Marissa Tomei, and I had a really nice scene with Marissa Tomei. So Ron has been a real supporter and a friend, and almost like a member of the family, really, because that Happy Days family was a very tight family.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice to know. What are you working on now that you can tell us about?
Currently, I'm working on a film called The Big. It's actually a series, not a film.
I read about that. Yes.
Yeah, it's a series called The Big Door Prize for Apple TV. And it's got Chris O'Dowd, the young Irish actor, in it, who's marvelous, and a lot of really terrific performers. And it's a cute show. I think it'll be.
Can you say what the plot is?
Yeah, generally speaking, it's about a small Midwestern town. I think more towards the southern Midwestern town that has a grocery store, and suddenly this machine kind of appears in the store that purports to tell people what their true destiny is. Ah. And so people start to change their lives and their habits, and it's definitely a comedy, but it's got also kind of a fantasy element to it, and as well as a kind of a mystery element to it. So it's by one of the producers of Schitt's Creek.
Oh,
if you saw that show. So it has.
I saw that show. I'm going to move there when I retire.
Yeah. So we're just in the first season. Nothing's been released yet, but I look forward to.
So how many episodes will there be? Do you know? Can you tell that ahead of time?
I believe they. It's either 8 or 10. Yeah, I don't recall.
I've always thought. I should say I've more than thought. I have been convinced always that comedy is like the straightest route to serious.
Yeah, well, I think comedy is a very potent and accurate expression of the dichotomies of life. Or things are never fully serious or fully hilarious. In life, we run across things which are an interesting blend and mixture of the truthful and the untruthful, of the apparent and the confusing. And so I don't know, I guess I like it a lot. I like comedy a lot because I feel like my life is very comedic on a day-to-day basis.
I think most people's are, if you know where to look.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree.
Also, yes, on the business of comedy, it's just open for so much more. And I've noticed in life that the really good comic actors can also do serious work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen that a lot with Bob Odenkirk.
I think that's not true. The converse is not true.
Yeah, that's true. I think you have to have a person who's specialized in comedy acting has to figure out, the basis of, well, what's the right thing to do and what's the appropriate thing to do, and how can I vary from that? How can I how can I go off the line a little bit? And so they have to have a very good grip on what is appropriate, what is logical, in order to kind of create an aberration off that line. So I don't know whether people that specialize only in drama and the straight path know how to, sometimes they're not as free to diverge.
Maybe that's what it is. Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just a guess. You're asking some very deep philosophical questions.
I know each of these take a little more time, but they're interesting for me to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Though, I mean, they're like I mentioned Bob Odenkirk from Better Call Saul, who started off as a comedy sketch writer, and that was what he wrote for Saturday Night Live, and then he had his own sketch show, Mr. Show, on HBO, and he's a terrific dramatic actor, which I think surprised him as much as anybody.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Let me ask you about, okay, so that's the big thing you're working. Now, I'm sorry, which company is making this series
Apple.
that you're in?
Yeah, it's Apple. Apple.
Oh, so you get it on Apple TV.
Yeah.
Only.
I guess I don't know. It hasn't been released yet, so I don't know how many platforms.
Are you
hopefully
surprised?
Hopefully it'll be released on more than one platform, but we'll see.
I would hope so too. Are you surprised? I know, just being as old as I am, that there was a day when only the big studios made movies, and they had a grip on it. And I'm so impressed with what it takes to make a movie. I don't even know how people begin, but evidently they do. And now places like Hulu and Netflix, which just used to mail you little movies in the mailer, little things. Yeah. And now all these places are making their own movies and doing such an exceptional job. Is that surprising to you?
Yeah, I'm as surprised as anybody else, but I mean the technology got easier, lighter, cheaper to make films. Okay. And and now if you're a company, a big company, you need to have, as part of your brand, you have the ability to create your own content. And so many people I know, like me, have their own YouTube channel, create content all the time. We're learning about filmmaking techniques and storytelling techniques, and it's just interesting. It's all communication. So we're becoming more expert in a way in telling stories, like you said, in communicating to one another.
But somebody's still got to be filming it. You still have crowd scenes, and you have
cars crashing, and interiors of planes and things. Yeah.
Right.
Well, luckily, there's a lot of people that love to dedicate their lives to pulling off those effects. And it is very surprising, though, I must say. I didn't know that the world would become so involved in making TV shows. And I think we're experiencing a real golden age in television writing and performing.
Yeah. I mean, just
the challenge is, who has time to watch all this stuff?
Yeah, I know. And, if you have these different streaming things, how many hundreds of channels? By the time you go through the whole scroll down, the week has gone. I know. But some of the best things I've seen have been made by Hulu and Amazon and Netflix. It's just brilliant. Okay. Agreed. So I want to ask you something, because I am basically about love letters and the power of them. If you were to write a love letter right now, and I'm using that term really broadly, it can be a thank you note, it can be something just expressing friendship, it can be inviting somebody into your life or out of your life kindly, it can be memories, it can be lust, it can be anything at all. Who would you be writing one to?
Gosh, the first person I think of, a lot of people that I admire, and I like to write letters of admiration. I feel really lucky when I know a few people in Hollywood, and when I see their show and I go, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I realize I could write to this person. I have their email address. I could write to them. And, I would probably write to Ron Howard. I mean, he's and I have in recent days, because his work is so great, and he's influenced a culture. I don't know if you realize he's written a book, a memoir with his brother called The Boys. And I read it, and I had to write to him afterwards because it was just so extraordinary. Their story is so fantastic. Yeah, it was a bestseller.
So you do it by email?
Yeah, Yeah,
What do you
but
think of sitting down and writing one by hand?
it would be. I would love to do that too. Yeah,
I hope you do. You
yeah.
know, I've written a couple of what you have to call fan letters.
Uh-huh.
Surprisingly enough, I get answers.
Sure.
I get handwritten answers back because everybody needs to feel worthwhile and as if they've done something that you like, right?
Yeah, totally. It's very validating, and a handwritten letter has a permanency to it, and an authenticity and a earnestness to it that just is not matched by an email for sure.
Right. I mean, I happen to love email and texting. There's no device I don't love, but every once in a while, I just sit down and watch the words flow out of a pen
Mm-hmm.
onto a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's totally different. I have a friend who always every Christmas sends a card that is just covered with writing on the
Oh,
inside.
nice.
And I treasure them.
You
And she
keep all
expresses
those things?
herself beautifully, and her handwriting is beautiful. It's like, here's another card from Amber. I love this.
People tend to know. People tend to notice the difference and say, "Thank you. You actually took the time to write this by hand."
Yeah. Oh, it's so rare now. It's like
Oh, I'm so glad to know
gold.
that you do this. Okay. Well,
Well, now I'll
thank
do it more. I mean, you've inspired me, so I'll do it even more.
I'm glad. It's such a powerful thing. I mean, I've seen, you may have also, just the simplest of expression changes lives very often.
That's right. That's right.
know,
Yeah.
it's
Communication is very, very valuable. That's what art is. Art is a word that
right.
expresses the quality of communication, and
Yes.
poetry and all those things. My dad used to read poetry to me all the time and play guitar,
Oh,
and my mother loves poetry, and I try it too. And it's just it's just another thing. We're going through a golden age of spoken word performing and poets, and all the things that have to do with communication are enhanced, or what do you call it? Made more easy to consume by this technology, by all these devices.
yeah.
Expedited. That's the word I'm looking for.
What I do like to advise is if people get a love letter, some kind of, you say admiration letters, those are huge, on email, that they print them out
Mm,
on good paper, and so they last.
that's
Okay.
a very good
So
idea.
you've kept the ones that have been sent to you.
Yes, I have every card and letter that my wife has ever written to me. I keep in a file,
Yeah.
and that surprised her recently. I pulled it out. We're going to be celebrating our 35th anniversary this year,
Oh, how nice.
and I treasure those writings.
How nice. Oh, you're a lucky fellow for what you were born into.
You have no idea.
I have a little idea.
You have a little. I am a very lucky guy.
Yes. And genetically lucky that you are so thick with talent.
Yes,
Really, and
I'm thick with talent.
thick with talent. I mean, there's so much of it around. And also that you have had the whatever it takes to pursue it and put it into action.
Yeah, and I got a lot of that from my mom too. She was very ambitious, and I saw that she promoted herself pretty ruthlessly, but always in a nice way. And
Right.
people love her. So I started this cartoon contest. I always try to give a little value when I do promote myself. I like to help people out, and
Okay. Well,
I
I'm
do
gonna
videos about
look
that.
for I'm gonna look for you on YouTube and look for your channel.
Please
And
do. Yeah,
you will be with this on my YouTube channel.
excellent.
So if there's anything else,
Crossover. It's going to be some crossover going on.
yes. And if there's ever at any point anything else you'd like to talk about or make public or offer and want to do another one, just let me know.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay. So meanwhile, it's been lovely talking with you and nice meeting you. And
Yes, Janet. Thank you so much. It was a very gracious interview. I really appreciate it.
well, thank you.
All right.
And until next time,
Until next time.
Janet Gallen saying goodbye. Bye.